everyone. Welcome to another Ashram Talk session. Good morning, Haripriya. How are you
Good
today?
morning. I'm excited. I'm already thinking about questions I have in my own mind, in my own world, of like, how do we apply these old ancient teachings to practical modern life?
I know, and I think it's been amazing. I've been discussing this, reflecting on our 100th class. And then, we had Simon Haas back with us after a while in our last class. But it is really incredible how, like, verse after verse, I don't know, like, everything does continue to seem really relevant. And sometimes it's like we're in the midst of these highly relevant topics, right? Things I'm thinking about applying to my job or like applying to my relationships. And then we take it back to, we're still talking about the Gita. Like we're still extracting this wisdom from the Gita. Yeah, so I think that's been pretty amazing for me personally, at least.
Yes, I'm excited. Actually, this verse, maybe I'll read it if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, I
It
can
would
put
be
it up.
nice.
Yeah, you can read it and
Um,
I put it up. Yeah.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Samyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we're at chapter 4, text 15. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding and so attained liberation. Therefore, as the ancients, you should perform your duty in this divine consciousness. So, what consciousness is he even talking about? So, I'm going to read the verse right before it in case you didn't grab that episode. There is no work that affects me. This is Krishna speaking. God saying, there's no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So, this is so deep. This is so deep because it's saying that God Himself is not after any kind of material goal. And sometimes we get so lost in our material goals that we're thinking, I want to achieve this and I want to achieve that. And then what happens is we become entangled in this whole material arena. But God Himself is saying, I'm self-satisfied. And and beyond that, we are made of the same material as God. So Krishna is self-satisfied, means he lives without needing fame, wealth, beauty, strength. He doesn't need any of that. Of course, we know he already has those qualities, but he lives even when he comes on the planet, on the material plane, he doesn't have any material goals. And so then he's saying the ancients follow him in this way. And so sadhus or saints, they have no material goals. They're fully aware of their own conditioning in the material realm, but they also are aware of their deeper true nature, which is made of the same Sat Chit Ananda, the same quality as God. And that quality is self-satisfied, Sat Chit Ananda. So we're eternal, we're full of knowledge, and we're full of bliss. So what we're hungry for, what we're searching in this material world, we're thinking, if I achieve this goal or that goal, then I'll feel satisfied. But that's the illusion, because actually inside of ourselves, good morning, Colleen, or good evening, wherever you might be, um, that's what we're searching for. We're searching for that bliss that we actually already have. We just have covering on top of it. We have some dirt over our consciousness that we get to clean off. And then that pure bliss, that pure happiness, that pure satisfaction shines through. And with that consciousness, then we can do our work in this world. And it might look the same as someone doing work that has a material result as their goal. It might look the same, but the consciousness is different because the consciousness is knowing that our true happiness, our true satisfaction, our deep dharma, which is like something you cannot extract from us, something that is intrinsic in us, is loving offerings, loving service, giving and being of value to God. So as we serve God, love God, give to God, offer value, that is our deep satisfaction. And that's what brings us our, like, either it wakes us up if we're covered, or if we already are purified, which I'm not, I'm on the path, but if we are in contact with someone who is a completely pure soul, which is who he's referring to when he says the ancients followed this path, and they achieve liberation, and we can too if we follow them. So they acted for Krishna's well-being, knowing that our well-being is intimately linked with Krishna's well-being because we are part of him. So just like the hand feeds the mouth and the body is satisfied, the hand doesn't go independent, it doesn't go rogue. But in this realm, we get forgetful and we try to go rogue. And we have all these external material goals with the illusion that that's what we want. That's what's going to get us this deep satisfaction. And then we feel frustrated and flustered when things don't seem clear. And so this class today is actually about when we don't know the outcome of something, what brings us the peace to continue on is the difference in consciousness, the difference in our goal. It's not that the goal needs to be achieved and have a certain result, but rather that we're here to serve. And so then if the goal shifts or change, we don't get thrown off target because we know at the end of the day, God's in control in a larger way. So as we serve, if we have a plan or we're moving forward in a certain way, we also have a level of, I want to say the word detachment, but it's not detachment like I don't care. It's conviction, it's commitment and detachment. So if something shifts or change, we understand we're putting our best foot forward, but at the end, we're not needing a specific result. We're wanting to serve. We're wanting to please God and get and give God love and pleasure and enjoy our relationship with him. And therefore, even if the external goal doesn't get met the way our I'll say material minds conceived, we still can have deep satisfaction because it's either with clear intention, with the soul moving forward, it's going to either be what we intend or something better. And it doesn't always look better from the material perspective, but it's something that's achieving maybe more things at once, or it's something that's guiding us in a different way, or something that's clearing or purifying ourselves, maybe purifying our ego, and so that we can pause and get more introspective and clean our hearts even more so that we have this deep connection. And in that way we can follow these ancients and follow Krishna consciousness, really acting in a way that is God conscious, acting in a way that is always aware of our connection to God. So that's kind of where the chunk of it, that's like the meat of where we're going. So even I'll pause here actually to see if before I go further if there's any questions on that in that regard.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments at this point, like before we continue, definitely feel free to put those in the chat. And I like kind of how you're reframing detachment a little bit, Haripriya. I think it can carry kind of a heavy connotation, right? That word detachment. We think, how am I supposed to be detached from my family or from my profession, right? It
Mm,
seems kind of heavy, but I don't know what I understand, and correct me if I'm hearing you incorrectly, but I'm understanding that you're saying like it's not necessarily detachment. It's in a sense almost like the opposite. Like I'm actually so committed to my goal that nothing, I'm going to get to a point where nothing is going to kind of, what's the word, like make me deviate from that, right? It's like
mm.
I'm actually so committed to this goal.
Yes, commitment and detachment, I think we often don't use them together. And so that they when you use them together, then you understand a nuance. So because I am saying detachment, but I am saying commitment, right? So you've got detachment and commitment. So I think we never use those together in like the material scope. We think, well, if I'm committed, I'm not detached.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
actually, we can be fully committed, 100% committed, and at the end of the day, knowing that we're not the doers. To some degree, we have the consciousness that there are things at work that are superior to us. There are energies at work that have more scope. Like we see what we see, we understand what we understand, and to the degree that we're more and more pure based on chanting God's name and connecting to pure souls. And when I say pure souls, I mean those that are walking the planet that really have no material interest other than serving God, because they
Yeah.
know that their interests are intimately connected with serving God. Meaning, I love this. I read this in a book the other day that selfishness, real selfishness, is good. but it means self-interest, the soul's interest, not the
Yeah.
material conception's interest, not the mind's ideas and desires that we've downloaded from material association, but the soul's interests. That is true selfishness, and the soul's interest is Krishna's interest. We are
Mhm.
qualitatively the same. So if we understand, like we literally are the same tree. So as you water the root, which is Krishna, we the leaves are happy. Like to really deeply meditate on that. Like as I feed my mouth, my stomach is happy, my body is happy, my arms are happy. So as I serve God, I am happy. Like we may not get it right away, but if we really meditate on that point, it's something that can't be over emphasized. I think sometimes we hear it and we go, oh yeah, like we get it intellectually, but to like deeply understand it, like, oh, when I serve God, literally everything else is taken care of. Like my life is actually taken care of. And we're not like nitpicking, like, oh, if I get into this college, that means I'm taken care of. No, you have no idea. You have no idea who you might meet at the college that you didn't want to go to. You have no idea what your trajectory is. Recently there were some very sincere souls that wanted to serve in a specific way, and what they thought would happen didn't happen. And now they're in that question, that introspection of like, okay, well, I want to serve for God. So what's like now the introspection comes when things look uncertain, like so if the class is like living with confidence even when it seems unclear, that's because you know that you are intimately connected to God, and therefore you have ideas of what could be a good service for God,
Yeah.
but it's usually mixed with some ego, mixed with some false conception, mixed with some, I'll call it the dust or the dirt that covers our awareness. And these souls, like Vishnu Maharaj, like Srila Prabhupada, I dare to say others, but I know people might, I mean, I want to personally, I think like Vaisheshika Prabhu, there's certain souls, like Indradumna Swami, and people can look and disagree with me and have their analysis, but these are souls that I, in my experience of them, and in following their not only their lectures but their actual physical examples, I know they are 100% giving to Krishna, right? So to me, they're souls that I want to associate with, and each of us has discernment. So each of us can look at these sadhus, these saints that walk the earth, and spend time with them, listen to them, spend time with them, and study them. Like earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about you study, you offer yourself to that spiritual teacher, but they should know you and you should know them. So really, like, in a sense, I don't, I don't take initiation lightly. Like it's something that you
Yeah.
really, when you take shelter of a spiritual teacher, there should be something that's certain that that soul is offering their life to God. And so now you want to spend time with that soul, and they're the ones that are in this verse. They're the liberated souls. And now even I'm not going to get into a whole conversation about the nuances of if you're liberated and you're not fully purified yet, right? That's like another class that Prabhupada speaks to that topic. But these ancient ways of being 100% for God means we're not attached to the result. That's what it means.
Yeah.
It means we're committed and we're serving and we're using our intelligence to choose goals that to our awareness are an offering to God, with the knowledge that we might still have some misconceptions, and if things go, like say I'm clear, like this is what I'm offering to God, and then all of a sudden it takes a turn. Okay, I'm not dejected. And as you mentioned, you might not get deviated at all. You might actually stay on course even to the same goal, right? If you're actually to some degree detached, but you're determined, that gives you a certain energy. And then in another way, you also can pause at these moments when it seems that the goal is not going to be met, and choose introspection, taking inventory, journaling, like what's going on with me. Try to try to separate what is the ego, like what is maybe wanting recognition, wanting to be special, wanting to stand out, versus what is wanting God to be enjoy, wanting God to be happy, wanting to offer something that makes God smile.
Wow, yeah.
Right. So then we get a chance to really look at that, and and sometimes we need to ask these people who have given 100% of their lives for guidance. Like, here's my plan. Here's what happened. I feel, maybe I feel and feel your feelings. Like Arjuna felt his feelings. He felt dejected. Right? He was shaking. His body was shaking. He dropped his bow. So be honest about our experience is something that's not always emphasized in our spiritual communities. Be honest about your experience. Experience your experience, and let it be, and then seek guidance and or introspection. So like you're introspecting, you're journaling, you're trying to decipher what is ego versus what is a real offering. And then you'll have the energy to keep going, because if you have that consciousness, then the result itself is not your goal. Pleasing God is your goal. So if the result looks slightly different, then you're still happy, like look at Vishnu Maharaj. He comes to town, there could be 100 people in the room, or 10 people, or 3 people, and he is happy. And so you see that, right? And then you see us, I'll say less pure souls leading a class, and maybe there's 25 people and we feel a certain way, or there's 300 people, we feel a certain way, there's 2 people, we feel a certain way. So it's an opportunity to look at ourselves, so that we can still just see, oh, there's still some like dirt on the mirror of my heart that I need to clean
Mhm.
off. If when there's 2 people or 300 people, I feel differently, because ultimately our service is to please God, and it's up to God who he directs to come to that class, right? All of those souls have Paramatma. All those souls have an internal guidance system that's on the same tree, that is the same tree that we're trying to water the roots of. So we're trying to water the roots. Yeah. 3,000 people at your class is definitely going to serve God in a different way than 2 people. But those 2 people, what if those 2 people become pure devotees in this lifetime because they're so sincere? Oh, and what if those 3,000 people, all of them are kind of there for entertainment, and none of them really commit in any way to offering their life to God, right? Completely different perspective. So
Yeah.
that excites me, that like that like we don't really know. There's a level of like trusting, trusting God as you serve.
Yeah, definitely. And Colleen, yeah, Colleen's comment that definitely I think aligns with what you're saying. She said, I loved how our well-being is linked to Krishna's well-being. Very comforting.
Mm. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely is comforting and, reassuring. I think like say for people who are maybe even reading, I don't know, Srila Prabhupada's books, or starting to kind of read this literature for the first time, they may read that word detachment like maybe 50 times in one day. They might start seeing that word. And I think, yeah, there can be this initial like common misconception, like, oh, I do really need to become, detached in like this colder sense, right? Like people start to become detached from, family or friends. And I mean, what advice would you offer like for people to kind of again like embrace this concept in a way that is, healthy and beneficial, if that makes sense?
That's a great question. I almost want to ask you back. What do you think? Because I bet you have an answer. Sometimes the question has the answer, but without putting you on the spot, that's if you want. But yeah, I feel
Yeah, no,
like
I mean, I just think initially people like I have seen this with devotees, maybe myself at times, like I mean, yeah, initially, like when you're hearing that word, like detachment, like the initial instinct is to like you make your heart a little bit maybe colder and
mm,
harder. Like I think especially with family, friends, anything that we could perceive as like this negative external influence, and I don't know if that necessarily does any good in people's lives, right? I
I
don't know.
appreciate that so much. Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. I think the first generation of devotees, my mother and father included, um, were applying the word detachment, um, in a way that maybe is, I don't want to, I don't want to say a word that would judge it. It's more like when you first come across it,
Yeah.
in a sense, we're kindergartners and we get taught something and we do it a certain way. Then all of a sudden we're in, let's say, 12th grade, and we get the same instruction, but we do it in a different way. So it's that same, I think you're referring to that same thing, that when we first hear the word detachment, and it's not necessarily directly linked with commitment, then we do think like don't care, where it's really, God, there's so many nuances that if my goal is, okay, like to serve God, so I decide I'm gonna open a preaching center, and I'm attached to the service and detached to the result, but I'm committed to the result, right? So I can say I'm gonna serve, and I'm very clear that my goal is 200 people start attending this kirtan festival that I put on, whatever. So maybe I work for a year, I have like reasonable goals, like I do lectures and these many people come, or I do yoga classes and these many people, and then I look at that and I say, okay, I'm going to put on an annual kirtan festival and I want 200 people to come, and only like 130 come. I am detached enough that I'm ecstatic. 130 people have walked through this door to do kirtan with us and to praise God through song and through dance and music. Yes. But so that's detachment. That's like, I'm not like, "Oh no, I wanted 200." It's like my
Yeah.
eye is on the goal, and simultaneously my eye is on the real result that I want, which is serving God to the best of my capacity. And then whatever unfolds, I'm happy with it because I've served God to the best of my capacity. I'm not the doer, I'm not in charge of the results. And that's why the results are not up, they're not mine. And so I have that level of detachment, but am I not like committed enough that like next year that's still my goal? Next year I'm going to have 200
Right.
people come to this kirtan festival, and I
Yeah.
stay focused and clear, like this is my offering to God, and now I'm offering my mind. I'm offering my commitment, my dedication to God. Now maybe God doesn't want 200 people. Maybe there's something I don't know, and he's like, actually I want only 20 because I want something so deep and intimate and like more condensed. Okay, well, I don't know, maybe year after year after year, I'm doing this and 10 people show up. That's it. 10, 10, 10. At a certain point, I think, okay, God must want this. So I'm again joyful in that service. So, and that's different than like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm gonna put it on. I don't know. It's up to God. We'll
Mhm.
see what happens. I'm
Yeah.
completely detached. I'm so
Yeah.
detached.
And it's like a glass half full mentality, right? Like not like, oh, only 100, like amazing, 100, right? Yeah, I think it's almost, would you say it's not necessarily like detachment, but it's like detachment to the right things
To
and
the
attachment
result.
to the right things, right? Like maybe
Yes.
like there are things we should in fact be attached to, others that we shouldn't. And yeah, we discussed this a lot in the last class with Simon Haas too about, yeah, like just really trying to focus on the quality of our actions and our interactions, right? But again, remembering like the result is not mine, which I
I
think
love
you
that.
touched
The
on too.
quality. Yeah, that word you use is perfect. The quality of our actions. And actually, that goes back to like in my notes I have, I wanted to bring up that our anxiety, they come from wanting certainty in an outcome before action, right? So, I mean, even Arjuna, he was like overwhelmed and confused and emotional and uncertain what's going to happen. And will there be
Yeah.
suffering this way or that way? And so and what Krishna guides him is not to not act, not to run away and do nothing, but to stay clear and connected to like, I'm doing what God wants and I'm doing it in service of God. And then the results are auspicious. I accept them. So the quality, yeah, I wanted to touch on that today, is that as we move through life, sometimes we're uncertain. We are uncertain. We might have a goal and we think, no idea if this is going to be like successful in meaning like we're going to achieve the result we're after. Right. Um, and with that uncertainty, if we act with the quality of connection to what's our real aim, Like if our real aim is to please God and to serve God, because we know that as God enjoys, we enjoy because we're intimately connected. So if we really stay in that consciousness that like my real goal is to do something that makes God smile, would this make God smile? It's like that's our barometer. Then the quality of our day to day is different, right? Even I can
Yeah.
be doing the same things. I can be washing my dishes, or my quality is, oh, I want Krishna, I want my home to be like a temple. So I want to clean my home for Krishna
Yeah.
so that Krishna feels some enjoyment in my home, because we're gonna sing to him and maybe offer some incense or read about him, but we're doing it in a clean space. So that feels more enjoyable. That feels nice. So now I'm washing my dishes, same action, but my quality of washing it is like, oh, with the mood of like, yes, I'm doing this as an offering, as opposed to like, oh, I need to wash my dishes. I have to
Yeah.
wash my dishes, right? Like I
Oh,
have to do it. It's got
mhm.
nothing to do with God. It's just
Yeah.
one of those to-do list
Right.
items. So it's
And
the quality of our consciousness that's
yes.
going to transform the experience for us, and how, yeah, how we meet that action. What consciousness we meet that action with, and therefore how we experience it also.
Yeah, and like in doing that, like you're going to do a better job washing your dishes, right? Like you just are. And that's something we were talking about too in the last class. Like he was like, even if you're not even like trying to have a spiritual practice right now, he was like, if you try to focus on like I'm just going to offer this action and the result is not mine, like he was like, try it out. Like naturally you will see the quality of your actions is gonna be better. Like you're gonna do
Mm,
a better job at those dishes, you're gonna do a better job writing that email, having a conversation, that person is gonna feel better. Like everything is going to improve when we kind of make that shift. It was called, he called it the offering shift, which Colleen and I both really liked. We both said we really liked kind of that name.
mm,
But yeah, I agree. And I think this is so important. And I think it's something we all can apply, right? Like we're all going to do X amount of things today. And we can take a minute before we start, right? Just to think like, okay, I'm going to give it my all. This is an offering. I'm offering this action, and
mm.
trying to develop like that consciousness around what we do. But the result is not mine, right? The result is out of my control, which I know is hard because there can be high stakes things too, which I think is a whole other thing that we could get into.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for really bringing up those important reminders.
Yeah. Yeah, and even the nuances of what you're saying, it's like real confidence comes from like connection to source, sincerity, and alignment to Krishna. That's what brings us security, not knowing the outcome of our actions. So like even the same analogy, like, okay, I'm going to open some preaching center.
Yeah.
If I'm clear, like I'm opening it and I'm offering it, but I'm detached from the outcome of it, then I can do it, and I can even meet problems like, oh, you're not allowed, or you have to pave this road and it costs this much money to be a legal place of worship, or
Hmm.
oh, the neighbor's complaining, we have to handle that. Right? Like how I handle all these obstacles along the way
Yeah.
will be completely different if I'm clear that I'm just offering my life, my time, my energy, my focus. I'm offering it, and I'm going to stay focused on my goal and what I believe would be of use and of service to God. And I'm going to overcome these obstacles with faith. Oh, so with faith that I'm connected to God and He's connected to everything. So things will unfold in a way that also brings pleasure to Him. Right. And so I think, and in each moment, it's the challenge is being connected enough that you can know when an obstacle is there and you need to traverse it, or an obstacle is there and it means there's a redirect,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like those are nuances. Those are why we have spiritual teachers that we can, call on the phone and say, this is happening and I'm not clear. Like,
Yeah.
do I stay steady because or do I pivot? And those I think are, we have to also have enough inner connection to Paramatma to ask God those questions and to introspect and see, yeah, like what's the real bigger picture goal. um Maybe the preaching center changes, shifts, and it's like, no, I end up just going to a park and sitting and doing kirtan at a park where people walk by, and now I have no overheads and I don't have to pave that road and I don't have to deal with the neighbors, whatever, but I'm still continuing to serve in the way that's giving a chance for people to come in contact with spiritual knowledge, right? So those are nuances I think that is why it's very important to have spiritual mentors and spiritual teachers. And even in this verse, it's saying, you know, they acted with this understanding that God doesn't need anything material. He's detached from the material externals, and that he's self-satisfied. And so that they also are self-satisfied because they're acting just in his service, and that we perform our duty in this divine consciousness. Because and Srila Prabhupada, even in the purport, says like a neophyte person might just give it up. They might be like, I'm just giving this up. But so he says detachment time and time again, but he also clearly says only like someone who's just coming to Krishna consciousness might think that means, oh, I have a family, but I'm detached. I'm not going to take care of them. I'm going to quit my job and give everything up. And it's like that is if you're reading thoroughly and understanding deeply, he's saying serve, have your job, have your responsibilities, change your consciousness. Change your consciousness that the result of these are not yours, and that that you have what he said, offering consciousness, right? The offering shift, like you're offering your time to God. So if I'm taking care of my children with the same thoroughness I would if I knew nothing about Krishna consciousness, and like my child is my everything, and now all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, my child is my everything because my child is Krishna's, because my child is God's, then I'm going to take extra care actually now, right? So it transforms the awareness, but it doesn't mean, oh, and be detached. So maybe I'm detached enough with my family that when the time of death comes and we have to separate, that I know that my relationship with Krishna was number one in my life, right? Theirs was a close number two and number three, but theirs wasn't number 30. Like it wasn't like I'm detached from my family and I'm spending time with these other people, maybe I'm preaching, but it's like, no, your family are children of God, and you're committed to them. You have a responsibility because you're a householder and you're in family life. Now these children that God has given you, or this spouse that God has given you, that the service to that soul is is cannot be neglected for the sake of serving others, right? So if you want to serve that family perfectly, and with the consciousness that you're doing it for Krishna, and serve others by sharing the spiritual knowledge, that's perfection. But if you think, oh, these people, they're important, but they'll also take care of themselves to some degree, and I'm going to go serve others, that's neglect. That's neglecting your responsibility and your duty. I remember one time Srila Prabhupada actually had a class, and a mother wanted to listen, and can't blame a mother who wants to listen, right? But so she kind of let her child be. I think this was at Bhaktivedanta Manor in England, and she just let her child be. I could be wrong about the place, but that's my memory. And the child was crying, and Prabhupada could hear a child crying. And then he asked, "Whose child is that?" And he expressed that parent should be taking care of that child, right? So that's the nuance. That's the nuance of detachment, knowing, yes, one day we will leave these people, but that could be in 50 years, 20 years, 100 years, we don't know. So we have enough detachment that we spend a lot of time with Krishna on our own, right? We have enough detachment that our number one go-to isn't our spouse. Our number one go-to is Krishna. And our number two is our spouse, and our number three, or vice versa, number two and three are the child and the spouse. And then number four and five are the community that we can serve. But so I think a lot of times in the early days, people heard this philosophy and they didn't hear it all. They heard parts of it. And then that's dangerous, because partial knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge, actually, because you have partial knowledge, then you apply it inappropriately. So they applied detachment. They sent their kids off to schools, and they went out and distributed books. And then a lot of those children are not interested in spiritual life right now. Well, why? Because they didn't experience deep spiritual love, right? Like spiritual love is the whole Bhagavad Gita. Like everything, all the philosophy comes back to love, like real love, not lust. Like, oh, you make me feel good, so I want to spend time with you. That's lust. Love is like, I deeply care about you. I deeply care about your spiritual journey. I deeply care about your trajectory in your next life. Like as a soul to soul, like you children, you spouses, I deeply care about your spiritual progression. And Prabhupada would say things like, when people would report, like, oh, this person's doing this and that, and it's incorrect, he would say, help them by being friendly and being an example. Not by chastising, not by correcting, not by directing. So then, if we really care about our family members, for example, we become a model. Like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to meditate on God this much time. And then I'm going to offer flowers and I'm going to cook some food for God and I'm going to offer it. And I'm going to always remember and meditate that these family members are loved by God. And I'm going to treat them in such a way that would make God smile and take care of them so nicely. That is going to breed spiritual inspiration for generations. And that's mature. That's mature application of commitment and detachment. You're detached that they're not yours means like your child doesn't do what you want. You have enough detachment that you don't get angry about it, right? You're not like, what? I told you such and such. Why aren't you listening to me? Right? Because that's easy to go down that path. And yeah, I'll share something Vishnu Mara shared to me. I was crying because my son was not listening to me. And I was like, he doesn't listen to me. He's 8 years old now. And Vishnu Mara said, I look at his nature. His nature is good. He said, don't worry. He said, it's trust. Trust that children they want to go do their own thing. They're not meant to just follow everything you say. He said, even when I was a boy, I didn't always follow my parents. And he's like this perfected soul that's like, fully dedicated to God. Like every 3 days, he goes somewhere different, and he's got an older body, but he's still on an airplane day after day after day after day after day to serve millions of people around the world. I'll say, like, because there's impact of 200 people here, 100 people here, 1,000 people here, and then who do those people touch? And he's committed that all his whole goal is helping people and helping and going around and being an example and teaching about God. And he didn't listen to his mother. So I was like, okay. So there's that's detachment. But it doesn't mean, oh, I don't care. My kid can be out in the streets till 10 o'clock at night and I don't know what he's doing. I'm detached. That's not nuanced, right? So it's commitment, attachment. Here, eat your broccoli. Here, come back, brush your teeth. And then he doesn't do it in that moment. I have enough detachment to know children are going to go against what we want. They're not meant to just follow everything so it touches also our beliefs. So there's so many nuances and it can't be covered in one class. But if your belief is Krishna is in control, Krishna loves us and is taking care of us, and I'm going to do my best, but I'm detached to what the external looks like while still being committed. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, go to bed. Okay, it's 7:20, go to bed. It's 7:30, go to bed. Now it's time. That's it. I turn the lights off. You're going to bed. But I'm detached enough to still be peaceful. And I'm committed enough that I still do what's best for my child. So
Yeah.
it's a balance. But yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Yeah, definitely very important. And Colleen says, wonderful class, Haripriya. Thank you. Very insightful listening. Thank you, Colleen, to Sienna's questions about detachment. Really important when you have children, right? So, yeah, I agree. And it was perfect that you went into this topic. I think there's definitely a lot to be said. Yeah, around all of these topics, how we relate to others, talking about children, detachment, our relationships. But thank you so much for all of those important reminders that you shared today. And I definitely think that you've given us a lot that we can just start thinking about applying today and this week and, in general as we kind of continue to get through chapter 4. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's always fun to speak about Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun listening to you. Listening to you is also fun. So thank you so much for participating and everyone who is listening today. And we look forward to seeing you soon Monday at 7:30 p.m.